Hello, my chicklets. Thank you for stopping by. I am so excited for this month. I've decided that twice a year I want to focus on one specific fanfic author and read everything I can of theirs in that month. Now, that doesn't mean I am going to read everything that they've written. It just means that I'm looking at what I can feasibly do and reading that. That being said, we will be seeing stories from Nadster for the next month on both Wednesdays and Fridays. So I'm really excited to share that with you. The first story is actually a continuation of a story that I read earlier. So make sure you check out What Have You Done before listening to the rest of this story called I Will. Also, a huge shout out to Sour Lemon Juice on Tumblr for doing the art for this story. Once again, this is I Will. What do we do now? We're shit at looking after stuff, especially people. I don't know. You've already given him a clean and soft blanket. I really don't know what else we can do. Like, tea would be a thing, I guess? Does he even drink tea? The chatter of two familiar, yet not too familiar voices was what greeted Logan as he regained consciousness. His eyelids fluttered open for a second. The brightness around him made him press them closed once more, and he let himself take some time to wake up properly. He was laying on something soft, tucked in a blanket that was warm and fluffy as if it had come out of the dryer just a few minutes ago. His head was propped up slightly on a pillow? It was not a pillow. At least, not one he was used to. Also, it was warm. The British eat beans for breakfast, so why not offer him peas after waking up? What? We're not British. Beans and peas are not the same thing, and I don't know anybody who eats peas for breakfast except you. And you don't count. You eat screws as a snack. They're rich in iron. Logan's heartbeat sped up. He knew where he was. There was the quiet dripping of the indoor fountain, the poignant smell of lit candles, and the ruffles which tickled his ear. He was in Remus's room, and he wasn't panicked about being in his room. He was panicked over the reason why he was here. The voices quieted, and Logan pressed his eyes closer together, as if he could change what had happened however long ago, before he had fallen unconscious. "Oh, hey there," Remus said almost inaudibly. "No need to be frightened. I'm the scariest thing in the room, and want to keep you safe. No nightmares should be able to touch you. Sorry for letting one slip through." Gently, Remus put his hand on Logan's head, letting his long, gangly fingers comb through his messy bedhead. The second Remus's fingers touched his scalp, Logan couldn't help himself but let out a gasp and opened his eyes forcefully. Apparently, they had taken off his glasses. His vision was blurry, and he could only barely make out Remus above him before the light got too much, and he pressed his eyes shut once more. Sorry for waking you up, Prof. I didn't mean to be so loud." Logan blinked tentatively once more. "Maybe your hand—" "Oh, right, fuck. Sorry. Remus exclaimed as he pulled his hand away frantically, but he got interrupted by a pained whine. Surprised, he stared at Logan's face changing color from white to tomato red. Logan tried to hide his face with his hands and pulled them clumsily out from beneath the blanket. The movement did nothing to distract Lucas or Remus from how flustered Logan was, but at least Logan couldn't see them anymore. "Aw, fuck, he's cute." With a jolt, Logan sat up. He almost hit his head on Remus's chin, but he barely cared about that anymore, as his head became fuzzy. Nausea was all he could think about, and he didn't register Lucas stepping in front of him. Slow. Be slow for a sec. Slow? He wasn't fast. Logan was not quick. Never quick enough to prevent the dilemmas from happening. No, don't think about that. Your breathing is too fast, and your head wants to rest. That needs to be slow now. Remus's voice came from the side. From his left. Remus had been sitting left from him. He turned his head to the left. Black and green clothing and a blurry, glittery spot danced in front of Logan's eyes. His head really was spinning. Can Luke touch? He'll be gentle. He's better at calming people down, funnily enough. The Remus blob said slowly. Logan's breath hitched. It was like there was no air around him. Also, he couldn't see properly. Everything was so dim now. He didn't like this. He didn't like feeling like this. Whatever makes it stop. I don't care. Probably Remus looked over his shoulder. Logan couldn't really see it, and at this point, he hated everything anyway. Lucas's voice led him next. He wanted his attention and gave him back his glasses. The orange facet then warned him he would touch his chest and began to take deep and slow breaths. He didn't talk. He just breathed, waiting patiently for Logan to mimic him. In the end, taking more than an hour to get Logan to fully calm down again. Again and again. The poor trait got upset again just before his breathing was back to normal, as another self-deprecating thought rushed through his head and let him panic once more. It was only when Remus took him into his arms, after much deliberation and uncertain rejections, that Logan managed to get his breath back. He was exhausted. Coming down here had been hard. Speaking his mind had been harder. Hearing impulsivity and anger talk him out of his plan had been excruciating. Falling victim to his own emotions had been humiliating. And yet, he was too worn out to feel any of it. The only thing of importance was the steady contact of Remus's chest against his back, his arms around his middle, and their legs pressed against each other. He was real. He was there. It wasn't better, not truly, but at least he knew that he wasn't imagining. He knew that his body was real, and that he was warm and decently comfortable. It wasn't much, and yet so much more than he had received in the past weeks, maybe months, and he allowed himself to have this, just this once. He let himself lean against Remus more, swung his legs over his lap, and turned himself around so he could cling to Remus in peace. He buried his head against Remus's head and let himself fall asleep. The two dark sides just let it happen. They had planned to talk with Logan about what to do next, but the facet was in no condition to talk yet. They would have to wait and let the poor thing rest before a plan could be made with his consent. So Lucas left Remus for the moment, told him to get the two of them in a comfortable position and also have some water at hand, so he could offer some to Logan if he woke up while he was gone. Quietly, Lucas sunk out into the hallway. He looked to the right and spotted what he had hoped to find. Long steps, quiet steps, efficient but not flashy. Janice and Virgil had always told them to be quiet, not to stand out if necessary. It made everything so much harder when the heart and creativity were so much louder and brighter than those of the people around them. The black door with the yellow doorknob was still in its place. Lucas turned the handle and stepped inside as he had done so many, many times before. The room was dimly lit, like Remus's, and Virgil's too in the past. Lucas didn't like that. He liked black, but the shadows never mingled well with him. The monsters Remus saw as his friends had been the enemies in his nightmares. It wasn't Remus's fault, though, so he stopped telling them that he still had the nightmares to this day. He didn't scream in his sleep anymore, at least. The sound came from the kitchen. Lucas strode there with intent, and within no time at all stood in the midst of Janice's kitchen, where the disheveled side was drinking wine out of the bottle, sitting miserably on the floor. He didn't even look surprised at Lucas's sudden appearance. "I see you're taking my words with much grace." With far more grace than Lucas had believed Janice to still be capable of, Janice set the bottle down beside him on the floor. Bitterly, he stared up at him with tired eyes. "So I'll be first on your list." "No." The silence between them was cold. "How do we take care of him? Like, what do we do to make him feel better?" Janice squinted at Lucas as if he had grown two heads. He just shrugged and waved for the deceitful side to answer. "What would I know about that? Apparently, I'm the reason he's like this. Am I not?" Janice spat and slid backward against the counter to hoist himself in a standing position. "You're not the only one responsible, and the self-pity doesn't help here. I don't think he even has the strength to feel embarrassed about how much he's clinging to Remus right now. He needs help, Jan." "I don't get it," Janice growled and almost snarled towards Lucas before he turned away and leaned over the counter. He let his head hang after a few seconds, and Lucas watched the anger fall off him. He'd always been fast to get rid of his bouts. "You were just saying that I hurt him, that I failed at my function, and now you want me to help him? What are you playing, Luke? You were always the easiest one of them to read. What's going on now?" Lucas sighed and looked to the side. On the fridge hung the old schedule, the purple magnet still sitting dutifully on the trash can. "It's simple." "Oh, is it now?" Jenna said, still looking down at his countertop. Rem and me can't look after ourselves. We're already sick, Jan. I eat for hours at end or don't eat at all. I show anger when I'm feeling something that disagrees with me because I can't show the other things. I don't cook or clean or do the laundry. Neither does Rem. That's all been you and Virgil. You helped. You used to help. And it's been years. And Lone needs help now. Tell me how to do it. Tell me what we can do to make him feel safe again. It's all I ask of you. After a conversation without any eye contact, Janice finally lifted his hands from the counter and turned around. He watched Lucas putting his glasses back on, finger glitching as he rubbed over his cheeks one last time. Janice nodded at him and let out a question. What has happened until now? And Lucas told him. Janice just listened. He looked at the floor in the end and began to fiddle with the glove he had pulled off of his left hand. You need to be present, to encourage him to drink and eat. I can show you which foods are likely good for him right now, but it's also a win if he just gets down something. Anything he manages is a success. Lucas nodded. You will need to bear the silence. Janice continued to meet Lucas's eyes again. You can't push him yet, not verbally at least. Make sure he knows you are available. Make sure he knows you are there. He's stubborn and smart. He knows reaching out is the logical thing to do. His pride is the problem, and you'll have to wear it out with patience and endurance. A little bow. How Janice had showed them all when they were younger. He gulped and looked to the side, as Lucas turned away the second time this day. And Lucas? The side nodded, not looking back this time. Tell him he's loved. Tell him he's liked. Tell him he'll get the apologies he deserves. Tell him he won't have to forgive or accept it, but that he deserves them. Will you? I will. Thank you all for listening. This story was I Will. It is part of the Dark Side Logan series written by Nadster. They are Nadster on Tumblr. They are Nad98 on AO3, and I will make sure to include all of the links in the description. I do hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait for the next part on Friday, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.